How's it going, guys? It's Eclipse here and welcome to a tank that completely surprised me within World of Tanks, and of course we're talking about a free vehicle that you can pick up as part of the season pass for the Gladiator season on World of Tanks. And of course this is the season rank 75 reward, the M48A2 Pattern, and there's a reason why this tank really did surprise me within the game, and it's primarily down to the fact that I thought that this tank would be like the other patterns within World of Tanks, and much like the others, it would have decent accuracy, it would have okay DPM, but it would kind of be a little bit lackluster. But having played this tank and actually given it a go, it feels a little bit different, and for some reason this tank just completely suits my playstyle, and I think that this tank is actually very underrated when you use it correctly. It's just that most people probably don't use it correctly, and we're going to give you an idea of how you can set this tank up, because it is a free vehicle that you can get as part of the season pass. So yeah, I mean, it is brilliant, and I think that what you have to do with this vehicle is play it very much in a support role where you are firing constantly at teammates or with teammates alongside you, and going for that tracking assist damage as well as the actual damage. And this tank definitely can do the damage itself even when you do get on a one-on-one situation, and you'll often come out on top. But the way in which we set up this vehicle, we have of course gone with Advanced Loader to increase the damage per minute, since it's one of the best features about this vehicle. So that's exactly what we want to do. We want to boost that up as much as possible, and yeah, Advanced Loader does exactly that. We've also gone with Advanced Optics because of the fact that the view range of this tier 8 is actually pretty good as base, and when you boost it up with the Advanced Optics you just get up to what, 499 meters of view range, which is fantastic for a tier 8 medium, and is capable of often outspotting a lot of opponents, even light tanks in the game. And we've got two replays that we'll showcase in today's video in just a second, but of course then going with the vertical stabilizer so we can keep the gun in a super accurate state, and you can go for those tracking shots, you can aim at all of the weak points that you need to with this vehicle. And considering how fast this thing is unloading, it's going to be really easy to be able to hit the opponents if you're aiming correctly and you actually aim. Usually it's actually down to user error if you are missing with this vehicle, as opposed to RNG impacting your gameplay. Now there can be said for an alternative setup. I'm not saying that this is the best setup, because of course your playstyle might differ. Maybe you want to increase the speed. Me personally, 45 kilometers an hour as the top speed of this vehicle is more than enough as like a medium, and the sacrifices that you have to make to some of the other attributes, it's not really worth it for me. But you could go with improved ventilation, and you could potentially swap out gun stabilizer or maybe even the gun rammer, depending on how you want to play this tank. And you could even go for the full spotting build with advanced concealment, but I would probably avoid that with this tank, even though it could be a viable option. But in terms of commander, we have of course got a full 9 skill crew commander, which I'm hoping to do a video completely different to this one, where we look at playing without the 9 skill commander, and we just go with a bog standard 3 skill that you can pick up from season passes and stuff like that. And maybe we'll train it up and do a little bit of a free to play where we're not able to use any premium ammunition, and see how that goes. I think that should be an interesting one for you guys. But either way, got this tank all set up, and of course the first thing that I want to showcase is the damage per minute. 2,500, very good, and the reload time 5.69 seconds allows you to constantly keep that main armament firing, to the point where you can essentially just go for tracking shots and keep people tracked continuously and farm their hit points for the entire game, as well as the fact that this tank has 9 degrees gun depression, which is brilliant, and 2.12 second aim time, which is also good, 0.29 accuracy. Yeah, I mean, this tank is just really good, and I've enjoyed every moment whilst I've playing it, as well as the fact that you do get okay penetration on both your standard and your premium. yeah, more than enough to deal with most tanks. And yeah, I think that this is a very, very good tank indeed. And of course you get some weird HE rounds that actually do less damage. Now I have no idea if this is a bug in the game. I would assume it is, since it says that it only does 160 damage with this compared to the 240 you can do with the standard round. And of course you lose penetration, so I have no idea why Wargaming have done this. Is this actually intended? But otherwise it's a completely useless round in literally every regard. But let's jump into this gameplay, showcase why this tank is actually good and why you want to be actually playing this when you do reach that season rank 75. So the first game that we do have is on Cliff, and you'll be surprised to know that this is actually when we are bottom tier. It's not often that you would see a replay where you do the most damage when you are bottom tier, but this is the best of the two replays we have today, and this really does showcase it in all of its glory when you are getting into that matchups where you're not favourable and you're in a tank that is supposedly really bad, but of course this isn't that bad, and I think that a lot of people are going to enjoy playing this when you do manage to get it yourselves. And you definitely can't just discredit it when you're playing it. Now we get quite lucky to hit the Dragon whilst we're moving, and of course aiming in the zoomed out mode. I mean, it's a I went for the shot, I wasn't expecting it to hit, but the fact that it did is nice to have. Now at this point in the game I always like coming here just to spot the opponents that are crossing, and you can also find opponents that do cross and you can get some easy shells into them, things like this TVP VTU here. And you can continuously keep that main arm firing, and you're seeing here the CS52 Liss. We managed to plow around into him and he continues coming. We're going to get another one into him hopefully as he comes around this house, which we do, and the penetration of the standard rounds coming quite nice here with 228, able to go through the turret of the CS52, and we've picked up 900 damage, and we've also blocked 710 damage, which is something I genuinely didn't think would ever happen in a basically a pattern. But I guess that the armor of this tank, if you don't aim 100%, it is a little bit bouncy, and of course you've got the huge cupola which can be penned by everyone, and it is a weak point. You do also have the boat shaped hull, which can be a little bit bouncy if they hit at a weird angle, and so I actually found that I was bouncing a lot more rounds in this tank than I was expecting when I first saw it. And I thought it would just be an auto pen, and it certainly isn't just an auto pen, especially when you are coming up against bottom tiers like tier 6s. They're going to actually find this tank a little bit annoying, and not only because it's going to be hitting you consistently, but because you have that armor. Now we have set up in this top position. I'm not going all the way over. If you go and expose yourself on the top, you're going to find it very, very bad. Now I know that the Kranvang has fired at least 2, and so I decided to go in. We're going for that tracking shot. It doesn't manage to actually hit him, and we go again. We try and track him, but we don't actually manage to keep him in place, and now he actually gets into a hold down position, and I decide, oh, this isn't particularly great for me. I'm going to back up and we're going to find somewhere else. Now as you know, if you've just seen that the Indian Panzer's been ploughed around from behind, the Cobra is actually behind us, and that is not a good sign. So as many shells as we can get into him, the better, but we are now forced to come up into this spot here. The enemy RT is of course looking my way, because yay, enemy RT, I always love it. But coming up to the top of the hill, little bit risky. Obviously we can get hit from the base. You don't want to be coming up here at the beginning of the game in a slow tank like this. Not that the tank is that slow, but if you haven't got like the super speed, you know, 65 plus kilometers an hour, you can very easily get hit, and people pre-aim the cross. So I would very rarely come up to this position up here at the beginning of the game. You should always wait until people have forgotten the focus and they aren't just pre-aiming the hill for that easy damage. So just a little tip for you guys, for if you are deciding to come up here, whether you're in a light tank that's super fast, I'd always wait just a little bit. Now then, having got up here, this is a very, very good position to continuously get the damage out, and we are of course aiming towards the easy pen targets, the Foch's side, and of course when we're above the Foch it should be a fairly easy pen, but yay, we don't manage. to hit him, but we are now finding the perfect spot to get this tank into where you can just keep firing, and unfortunately for the enemy team, they're not in the best of spots out in the open, and when tanks are out in the open against this, yeah, that 200 Alpha is going to rip them apart continuously. Now the Cobra has moved down, and I'm deciding, you know what, this tank is a pain, so we need to get him out. But of course the shell that we actually aim does manage to bounce off the side armor of the Cobra. Now I know that this is a little bit risky to just come up here, but we're going for that shell. He of course manages to hit us here. In reality, I should probably be trying to come in at a steeper angle, which is why we received that shell there. I could have avoided it, but I wanted the damage and we wanted to get the Cobra out. So in the best case scenario, I wouldn't have probably gone for the shell, but you never know, he might have actually survived if we managed to miss or something like that. So yeah, it wasn't necessarily the worst thing in the world, but yeah, we have lost that hit points, and that does mean that it's a little bit harder of a carry at this point. The TVP on their team trying to run away, but we don't like people who try and run away in the top tier medium tanks, so if we can get at least one shell or two shells into him, that's going to be perfect. I try and get the second one in, but we don't quite manage it, and the RE is still aiming up here, so we're going to pull back behind the windmill and he's not going to be able to get a shot. Now then, there is this Foch who's down over here, but in order to actually hit him, we've got to fully expose ourselves, and we have no idea what is in their base, and they could quite easily get a shell into us. So I'm a little bit hesitant to go down. I want to make sure that we are playing kind of somewhat passively, going for the blind fire on the artillery, because obviously I was triggered that he's been targeting me the entire game. So yeah, we don't manage to hit him either way, but we do find the TVPT-50 who managed to escape his way down to their base, and yeah, we managed to get another one on him. Whether we'll be able to hit him again is possible, and we do bounce another round. This is what I mean by the armor is a little bit troll. If they hit that upper plate at the angle that we were at, like, you can bounce quite a few rounds. Now the Foch for some reason has decided to YOLO. YOLOing in a non-turreted tank destroyer, especially when you're coming up against something that isn't easily pennable and has decent alpha like the IS-4, yeah, it's just not going to work very well for the Foch, and he gets taken out. But now we do find that pesky artillery. We miss him, which is an absolute shame. I'd have loved to remove him from the game. As with all artillery players, it's always a joy to remove them from the game, especially when they've been targeting you the whole game. But we've picked up 4,000 damage in this thing, which is a very good game. You're having to pen, what, like, I don't know, 20 shells roughly with this tank to be able to get that. I mean, slightly less, maybe like 15, but it's still quite a considerable decent game so far. But we are now loading heat rounds. And so you see me looking at the E100, I'm aiming above the tracks and above that little skirt where you do actually meet the proper armor, and that allows me to pen the E100 if you are loading heat. Now heat rounds obviously absorbed by tracks, so you don't want to be aiming at those tracks, and of course the E100 gets the side skirts, which are essentially just a thick piece of spaced armor that act in the same way as tracks. So if you are looking at it from the side and you're like, how the hell did I bounce off the side of an E100, it's because you need to aim slightly above the tracks and above that side skirt, and that way you're going to be able to hit the top like couple of millimeters of that armor, and then you're going to be able to pen because it is actual tank behind it as opposed to just a decent chunk of spaced armor that's going to bounce you around. Now then, so we've done 4,400 damage. We're looking for this TVP and we finish him off, which is brilliant. TVP can definitely ruin some people's games, and it isn't a guaranteed win when they have a tank like the Turan, or at least the Object 268 version 5, and I'm a little bit scared because we don't want to get hit by the 268 version 5 because we will be taken out in one hit. So maintaining a decent distance and not going for the shell on the 268 version 5 would be a good idea. I certainly wouldn't want to fire here, because what happens if you get spotted, Titan? Oh, uh-oh, what's the 268? Is he going to reload before me? Am I going to be able to get behind the cover? And we do somehow manage to do it. In a perfect world, I would have stayed right back and we would have stayed out of his render range with the dash circle so that he would never be able to spot us. But unfortunately, well, fortunately for me, he didn't actually manage to reload quick enough to finish us off. But yeah, that could have been curtains, especially in a game like this where we've done so much damage. I would have been super triggered. But either way, we have actually picked up 22 damage medals within this, and we're just waiting for that final couple of hits into the TD, the 268, and maybe we'll be able to get one more, maybe even another one before this guy gets taken out. Looks like we can potentially get him, and we do manage to finish him off, and it's just the artillery piece left alive. And our heavy tank, the IS-4, dives off the cliff and finishes him off. But we had 5,300 damage in this tier 8 medium that is supposed to be a bad one, but 2,335 XP is certainly a very good game and was one of the ones that I really did enjoy playing, and I certainly would recommend you guys check out this vehicle when you are deciding to actually get to rank 75. And let's jump into the next one, having earned 371,000 silver, getting that mastery badge, Oskin's medal, high caliber, we got the Confederate medal, fire for effect, bruiser, blah blah blah, medals galore in this tier 10 game. So it's a really good one, and I was super stoked having done that. So the next replay then that we have is in Canals, and Canals is a map that I really do enjoy when playing medium tanks. It's quite a good one for being a little bit versatile, moving around the map a little bit, and of course when you do understand where the typical crossing spots are on this map that I'll point out to you guys so you can use them in your own games, since we're going to be going into one of my favourite spots, we should be able to have a good game, or at least guarantee a little bit of damage before this game ends up. And yeah, this was definitely a very good result, much like the previous. Yeah, a really good one. But let's see what we can do with this thing. And in this sort of matchup, you do have a decent amount of camo, or at least view range, but you don't get the most camo with this thing because it is quite big. I mean, it is similar to the M48 pattern, so you are quite chunky and can be spotted quite easily. But it's still not an easy one to spot because of the fact that you can often outspot people before they spot you anyway. But yeah, it's certainly no E25 in terms of its stealth. But either way, we're coming up and we are picking off the tanks that for some reason go near the windmill. Now, I have no idea why tanks go up to the windmill. I really find that that position doesn't usually work very well. Often I'll stick further back and you'll be able to spot people just as well, and you won't be able to get spotted, and you got a lot more cover when you aren't at that windmill location. Now, we do get hit by what appears to be the Dragon, but maybe it's something else, and so we do blind fire over there just to see if anyone else was still sat in the position where they were last spotted. But one of the tank does actually get spotted from where they were. But we're not after them, we're after a slim shot through a window to hit the Tiger 1, and you can do that with this tank. That's the accuracy, like we talked about at the beginning of this video, coming in to do some absolute work. And you can see here we are pre-aiming, and oh, look what you have there. We get a free shell on the Scorpion G, and he then gets subsequently taken out. And this is exactly what you want in this tank, is to try and clean up this flank. And when you clean up this flank, you'll see in the bottom right hand side of the screen that the enemy team have actually managed to push through the town area. And then from here, what you can do is you can turn around and get some easy damage on the people pushing from the town. But you have to do it quickly enough such that they don't just completely blitz their way through and end up next to your cap circle or up to this ridge on the left of where we are right now, because then you can't really use this position very effectively. So you need to get here quick enough such that you can deal the damage quickly and finish off some of these vehicles. Now, the M48A2 not particularly the easiest tank to pen with standard. You do have to hit the cupola or hit the lower plate, but because we're above the tank, we can't really hit that lower plate because it's going to be even more angled than it already is. So yeah, we've got to be a little bit careful. So I decided to load the heat rounds. We want to make sure we're getting him out of the game, and with the heat rounds it basically nullifies the armor that we saw of the mutant or the M6A2E1, which is also known as the Bog Horror. There's a skinned version of the tank. For those of you who don't know, it's the same tank, it just is skinned and of course bright green with moss all over it. But we're getting up into this position, we're using the windmill to block shots from the opposite team, whilst also trying to get some shots on the Barask. Doesn't appear like we were quick enough to get there, but from here what we can do is we can just be annoying to the enemy team. We can get into this sort of position and you can quickly do little pokes with this tank, which you can't do with a lot of tanks because it has a lot of them have bad dispersion, so when you move it will like bloom out quite badly, but on this you're seeing we're able to reliably hit shells against the tanks. And we're trying to find that weak point of the M6, which we do manage to hit that cupola. Kind of lucky to hit it since we were moving. We wouldn't recommend moving all of the time when you're trying to aim, but this tank is still very good and we can pinpoint that cupola again, which is just showcasing the accuracy. Like a lot of tanks, you might think that you're able to do that, but at the end of the day this one really does put RNG to bed, and you can see there finding the side shot of the turret to finish him off. But now we're going after this Barask, but of course our teammates have decided that 8 versus 3 is just way too much for the enemy team, and they decide to cap, and we don't even get the 5 seconds after they cap to deal any more damage. So we probably would have got at least 1, maybe even 2 shells on the Barask there to get some more damage. But yeah, the cappers obviously wanting less XP in the game, so you know my thoughts on cappers, but yeah, kind of annoying. But either way, picking up 3,600 damage and having a good result, 1,476 base experience, 800 assistance as well due to that view range. And yeah, hopefully you guys did enjoy it, watching this kind of surprise of a tank, and hopefully that did it justice and why you might actually want to play this as opposed to just disregarding it. But thank you very much for watching. There's one other thing that you can do right now, is that we have got a giveaway going on the channel. So for those of you watching right now, there is a giveaway available for you guys to actually jump in and potentially get some gold, or at least pick whatever you want up to a gold value, depending on how many people we will get to complete the tutorial on Mech Arena, which is a online PC game that you can play as well as on mobile. And all you have to do is use the link in the description and you'll be able to open up that. It will use my link, and that way when you complete the tutorial, it takes about 10 minutes. You'll be then able to enter the giveaway, and all you have to do is just take a screenshot of you completing the tutorial on the game and post it in the Discord, which we've got also in the description, and you can just join the Discord, which you can do on either your PC or your mobile. There's an app on your phone if you want it, and yeah, also gets you into the Discord server so you can see all of the latest news updates from World of Tanks, and also all of the videos that I upload that will be pinged in the Discord too. And of course you can always ask me questions in the Discord as I do check in. So yeah, it's kind of a thing that we're doing in order to yeah, get some more interaction with you guys, and hopefully you'll enjoy that. And yeah, of course we're approaching 15,000 subs as well, which is why I kind of wanted to do the giveaway, and the sponsorship really does help me be able to do that for you guys. So if you can help me out, I'll help you guys out with some giveaway. And yeah, thank you. The more we can get, the more I'll give away, and of course the more people we can give away stuff to, and we'll set the gold value higher and higher depending on the tens of people we get. So 10 people will do a little giveaway, 20 people who download it and do the tutorial will do an even bigger one, and then 30, 40 will do bigger and bigger amounts for you guys. So yeah, hopefully you'll jump in. Doesn't take long and it would really help me out. So thank you guys, and I hope you do enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope you'll join me back in the next video, and I'll see you there. Goodbye.